That's about the only way I can get it to stay. Okay. Let's gotta use what you have in this life. Do not do that.
So much has been said about Scotland and England over the years, yet there has been very little genetic comparisons between the two. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this video, and we'll also look at the different rates of physical traits and genetic conditions between Scotland and England. Now, both these countries initially formed into early kingdoms in the medieval period, Scotland in 843 AD and England in 927. They then developed over the centuries into the countries we recognise today with their modern borders. In 1707, England and Scotland unified into the Kingdom of Great Britain through the Acts of Union. Yet their people retain some distinct cultural and genetic identities that we will look at in this video. Now, the DNA story of Scotland and England doesn't just apply to the people that live in these countries, like myself in Scotland today. It also applies to so many people across the world, as so many people have Scottish or English ancestry, or a combination of the two. As you can see in this table, the United States, Canada, Australia and New Zealand have the most amount of people.
I've been trying to fix everything. Give me just a moment, guys. Bear with me. Remember, I do this for fun. No likes, no subscribes. I don't care. Come talk to me if you're bored. That's all I want. I don't really have a life anymore because of issues, medical issues. We won't get into it. But yeah, just come in and chill, talk, have a good time. I don't care. Just watch what you say. That's all I ask. I don't like arguing. I don't like drama. That's all I ask. So, give me 1 minute. Excuse me. Then we'll get back to the video. I have to make it to where I can.
Similarities between Scotland and England. Now, so much has been said about Scotland and England over the years, yet there has been very little genetic comparisons between the two. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this video, and we'll also look at the different rates of physical traits and genetic conditions between Scotland and England. Now, both these countries initially formed into early kingdoms in the medieval period, Scotland in 843 AD and England in 927. They then developed over the centuries into the countries we recognise today with their modern borders. In 1707, England and Scotland unified into the Kingdom of Great Britain through the Acts of Union. Yet their people retain some distinct cultural and genetic identities that we will look at in this video. Now, the DNA story of Scotland and England doesn't just apply to the people that live in these countries, like myself in Scotland today. It also applies to so many people across the world, as so many people have Scottish or English ancestry, or a combination of the two. As you can see in this table, the United States, Canada, Australia and New Zealand have the most amount of people with at least one of these descents across the globe, with over 50 million people having Scottish or English ancestry in the United States. People who live in Scotland and England also often have mixed ancestry as well, of course. But what are the main genetic differences between Scotland and England, and how different are they? And please let me know in the comments below if you have Scottish or English ancestry and what your ancestry is in general. Now, both of these people trace the majority of their ancient ancestry to three main sources: Western hunter-gatherers, early European farmers, and then steppe ancestry. However, studies have found subtle differences in the rates of these components. For instance, Scotland has slightly higher levels of both steppe ancestry and Western hunter-gatherer ancestry. England, on the other hand, tends to have a bit more early European farmer ancestry. These differences are quite subtle, however. Now, a significant divergence in the ancestry of Scotland and England came in the early medieval period, beginning around the 5th century AD. This was when the Anglo-Saxons arrived, who of course had far more of an influence on England than Scotland. This impact was especially high in certain parts of England, with a 2016 study estimating that on average, the contemporary East English population derives 38% of its ancestry from the Anglo-Saxon migrations. The impact of the Anglo-Saxons does seem to vary in different parts of England, however, with it much lower in parts of the north. In contrast, Scotland retained more of its indigenous Celtic and pre-Anglo-Saxon DNA, although we do see some impact on parts of Scotland, mainly in the lowlands in the southeast of the country. This difference is also reflected in the haplogroups found in the modern populations of Scotland and England, something we will look at later in the video. But what about the Vikings? Well, the impact of the Vikings was actually different in Scotland versus England. Although the Vikings had a genetic influence on both populations, there was a different regional impact. Vikings from the land we call Denmark today had a much greater influence on English DNA, whereas Vikings from the land we call Norway today had a much greater impact on Scottish DNA. There was also regional differences within Scotland and England as well. As you can see in this table, the impact was highest in the Northern Isles of Orkney and Shetland, but also notable in the Western Isles of Scotland and Eastern England. This influence in Eastern England is largely a legacy of the Danelaw period. Now I should note as well that there is a difficulty when looking at the genetic impact on England of Danish Vikings versus Anglo-Saxons from Denmark, as both had similar genetic signals. With this being said, the overall impact of the Vikings on Scotland and England was probably quite similar, at around 6 to 10%. And as far as Viking haplogroups, two in particular are worth mentioning: R1A-Z284 and I1. These markers are still found in Scotland and England today, and we'll go into more detail later in the video on Scottish versus English haplogroups. Before we look at the haplogroups of Scotland versus England, I first wanted to look at the different levels, the different frequencies of physical traits in Scotland versus England, as well as genetic conditions. Now basically there are two types of physical traits that are higher in Scotland than England. The first one is red hair. Scotland has the most amount of redheads on the planet alongside Ireland. In Scotland, around 10 to 13% of people have red hair, and roughly 40% also carry at least one red hair allele. More than 6% of people in England have red hair on the other hand. This is still higher than the global average of 1 to 2%, but obviously much lower than Scotland. This disparity aligns with the idea that the red hair genetic mutations were more common in Celtic fringe populations of Britain and Ireland down through history. The high frequency in Scotland, as well as in Ireland, points to genetic drift or selection in those populations, and red hair is also high in another population who speaks a Celtic language, in Wales, the Welsh. This again speaks to a Celtic link with red hair. And on the subject of physical traits, Scotland also has slightly higher levels of blue eyes than England, with them around 50% in Scotland compared to 48% in England. Now another genetic trait that is higher in Scotland than England is hemochromatosis, an inherited condition where iron slowly builds up in the body. This iron overload can damage parts of the body such as the liver, the joints, pancreas and heart. It most often affects people of Northern European background and is particularly common in Celtic countries, such as Ireland, Scotland and Wales. Given this, the condition is sometimes known as the Celtic curse. Now, rates of hemochromatosis are higher in Scotland than England. In Scotland, around 1 in 113 people have this condition, compared to roughly 1 in 150 people in England. This again speaks to the idea that Scotland has more Celtic ancestry than England, and we also see this overarching difference when we look at the Y-DNA haplogroups of the two countries. Now, haplogroup R1b is the dominant Y-DNA lineage in both Scotland and England, reflecting their common Western European heritage. However, the subtypes of R1b most prevalent in each population differ, and speak to the different historical episodes that affected them differently. Scotland is dominated by R1b-L21. This subtype is often called the Celtic branch of R1b, as it is found in high frequencies in populations with a historic Celtic identity. In the Atlantic fringe of Europe, including Britain and France, which still speaks a Celtic language today. R1b-L21 is found in around 75 to 80% of men in Scotland, the most common haplogroup by far. England, on the other hand, has a much higher level of the subclad R1b-U106. This branch of R1b reaches its peak frequencies in the North Sea regions, i.e. in places like the Netherlands, northwest Germany, Denmark and southeast England, and is associated with the migration of Anglo-Saxons and related Germanic peoples. England also has a Celtic backdrop though, and is thus dominated by two main branches of R1b. R1b-L21, which is higher in the north of the country and associated more with Celtic ancestry, and then R1b-U106, which is highest in the south and east of the country and is associated more with Germanic ancestry. This table shows the breakdown of the main Y-DNA haplogroups in Scotland versus England. You can see how R1b-L21 dominates Scotland, but England has a mixture of these two subclads of R1b. England also has slightly higher levels of I1. This reflects the fact that England has more Northern European ancestry in general, as I1 is common in Scandinavia as well as Northern Germany and Northern Europe in general. It is thus linked to both the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxon migrations due to this, but the main reason for the higher rates in England is driven by this larger Anglo-Saxon component, as the Viking influence was similar in both countries. So what can we say about Scottish and English DNA overall? Well, both countries have a shared genetic foundation with notable twists. Both groups are fundamentally Northwestern European, sharing the ancient genetic layers of hunter-gatherers, early farmers and steppe ancestry. They also both absorbed waves of Celtic and Germanic migrants in the Iron Age and early medieval periods. The differences lie in the relative proportions of these inputs. The English genome shows a greater signature of Anglo-Saxon and continental European influence, where the Scottish genome retains a higher degree of indigenous Celtic ancestry. This is evident in specific genetic markers, notably the Celtic-associated R1b L21 versus the Germanic-associated R1b U106. We also see this in certain traits like red hair and hemochromatosis, which are both higher in Scotland. So in other words, Scotland has more Celtic ancestry and England has more of a Germanic influence, but this is against the backdrop England obviously still has a good amount of Celtic ancestry, and we see this with R1b L21 still found in reasonable numbers in England. Yet overall, Scotland and England genetically are very similar. If we look at the mitochondrial haplogroups, for example, we can see that the two countries have almost identical levels of these markers, and autosomal DNA is very similar between the two. But like I say, Scotland does have more of a Celtic influence, and England more of a Germanic influence, although they are similar overall. But what does your eye colour say about your ancestry? Well, to find out, please click here. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and hit the bell, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.
You might think you know the difference between a Scottish and Irish accent, and you might think you know what they're saying, but we'll just see about that.
The weather's never good, they always stay in the borders with the mists on the Jordans.
You're going to hear 9 fascinating accents and dialects from Scotland and Ireland, but that does not mean that you'll know what they're saying or where they are from. You get a point for guessing the country and double points for figuring out the area. So listen carefully and write your guesses in the comments, but you have to be fast. You ready?
As I got mayor and was moving among folk interested in poetry, then they became aware of that, and I found that they quite liked it, and that was really quite strange. I thought they would find it awful queer.
This accent has some pretty interesting roots. It came by way of Norn, an extinct North Germanic language spoken in this area up until the 18th century. Did you hear how she pronounced her TH sounds? This is very distinctive in this area, replacing the with a d or a t. Those with an ear for Nordic languages will be able to pick up on its influence pretty quickly. Here's a bit of a poem that describes that area.
American pretty silks, we are preen and dog and wand, are poking after smislins, at the Ipstans at the sand.
What a beautiful place. Have you guessed whether it's Ireland or Scotland yet? You may be surprised to learn that this country, despite being relatively small, has 10 distinct regional dialects, which are often broken down into sub-dialects. It's getting complicated. And the poems, well, they've been described by some as magical and soothing, soft-spoken but powerful, and I couldn't agree more. Here is another sample of a poem. This time the topic is about dialects versus languages.
The passion we had coming into ourselves, when we bail sun for our bosy into the heavens, when we lay a word of love upon een another, when we done a butter with narrow definition.
And while we're on the subject of accents versus dialects, I think it might be a good time to add a disclaimer of my own. There is a fine line between accents and dialects in the places in this video, and many of them actually have both. This place is no exception. You can see both here.
If you could let me keen what you want, Meru, then yeah, to make it better for you and to help me, I would love to hear it. In case this is my first one, I just want to make it a piri poem and a fun one in this book. I like old smucks, treed burn aften torn, flat stoot and heamly like, and brally worn. I like old smocks, and I'm aid up like to hide 'em, for tired feet to wiggle, their toes at 'em. I like old smocks, though they hae nae adorning, they're aid up find put on in the morning.
What an absolute delight. In case you didn't catch it, she was talking about old smocks or slippers. If you haven't figured it out yet, we are in beautiful Shetland in Scotland. It's an archipelago, a group of small islands stretching across the sea between Norway and the UK. No wonder there's a strong Scandinavian heritage still thriving here. Because it's so tucked away and isolated, there are plenty of opportunities for really fun words. To stick around, here are a couple of my favourites.
The word is spaggy. Spaggy is the exact pain you feel after too much anaerobic exercise when you have a build-up of lactic acid in your muscles and you get that ick. I'm awfully spaggied. It's something I would say if I exercised.
I love the word Haley Puckles because you can almost feel them, like a puckle being like a pretty bar of hail that comes down through the sky. And it conjures up this idea of them bouncing everywhere, maybe bouncing off the car or bouncing off the windowsill. The bears would open the curtains and say, "Mom, look at the Haley Puckles."
If you're looking for fun ways to beef up your vocabulary, you can add these phrases to your arsenal. Speaking of arsenal, I've got a story coming up about two feuding accents and a loaf of bread. But first, another mystery to solve.
I'm trying to find something wrong with your plan. I was looking around town for ages, looking for the perfect bike for you. That's a girl's bike. It's got the fanny dip thing. I don't want that. The fanny dip thing, but it's got 3 gears.
Now, I have to tell you right away that this can be a tough accent to nail down. Depending on where you live, the words being used and the pronunciation can vary greatly.
It really depends on where you're from. If you come from 50 kilometres to the west, you get a fierce thick accent. Just going, how's it going there, no, like? You know, it'd be one thing. And if you're from the east, how's it going, lad? What are you up to? You know, so it actually changes within 40, 50 kilometres. So the phrases then will change. So the phrases that I know may not be the phrases that the teacher in the next room would know. It could be, but that makes it fun.
Fun is one way to describe it. At least they understand each other. The history of this accent is an intriguing one. It's partly attributed to one person in particular, a certain saint called Finn.
I suppose you could say that the accent was started by St. Finbar. God bless and preserve the man. When he built a little church on the hill up there, when he came down in the 6th century.
The Danes came a couple of centuries later to add a Scandinavian flair, but then add in a sprinkle of Welsh, Norman, a bit of English, and just a touch of French Huguenots, and what do you get? You get an accent with a delightful sing-songy rhythm, and that's what makes it so easy to identify.
Hello, how's it going? I'm calling about the advertisement on the buy and sell. Yeah, the skyhooks. Have you still got them? Oh, that's deadly, man.
Sing-songy, we've heard that before. Easy to understand. Not always. You may need to keep an eye on the subtitles for this next one.
Sean, come here to me there. Story, here, la. Be pure wide and keep sketching out, because they're not able if shades come round the corner over there, la.
Well, I've probably given you enough information already.
I'll be right back. He's ready. The leggings. Oh, oh, my back hurts. I'm getting old, people. Okay.
But in case you need it, here is another clue. If you really want to be sure of this accent, look out for the excessive use of the word boy at the end of every single sentence.
Everything in general ends with boy. We always say boy. How's it going, boy? Not about a boy.
Have you figured it out, boy? Well, we are in none other than Cork, Ireland. Interestingly enough, many people in Ireland say that Cork is the true capital of Ireland. I have no opinion.
It's just a fire in the belly. You know, you can't, you won't keep a Cork man down, you know.
Do you think that Cork is the true capital of Ireland? And if so, why do you think so? Oh, 1,000,000%, because we are just the best people. We're very friendly and everything. Yeah, that's what I think anyway.
You've got some pretty convincing arguments there. If you'd like to try out your Cork accent, why not give some of these words a try? Just don't forget to make it sing-songy, you know? And while you're at it, go ahead and like this video and subscribe, boy. Oh, boy. Better move on, boy.
We've got a bonny library where you will find Ahe.
So on a Saturday afternoon, you can come down the road to Pittodrie and see the Dandy Dons play football. And come and see our famous scurries, because we've got hundreds of them, and they're absolutely massive.
Now this is another case of dialect meets accent. It's a bit difficult to find where one ends and the other begins.
And all my family live within about a half-mile radius of each other. They're all still up there. So I grew up in Buckie. I left when I was 18. My sister and brother were there till they were 18, or actually my sister was there until her 30s.
After Queen Elizabeth passed, it came to light that she could actually speak this very unique dialect, and unique it is. It has irregular verbs and has been described as having ragged tones and cadences. Some who speak this dialect sometimes feel a little bit self-conscious when speaking and feel the need to change their accent when speaking with others.
Ian was Dr. Ken Morris, and he get to Robert Gordon's who was posh. And Robbie Shepard was on the other side, and he get to Robert Gordon's, he wasn't posh. And I just thought, because I didn't want Dr. Ken Morris thinking I was a gape, and I didn't want to Robbie Shepard to think I was up myself, so I didn't say anything.
Now personally for me, these accents and dialects are really quite endearing. They're absolutely fascinating. I see them as a glimpse into history and culture, but many dialects like this are disappearing. Any ideas yet where this may be? Well, here's a weather forecast that might help.
There's a bit of har at midmar, but it could be war. On the other hand, at Strán, you canna see far you're gone. There's fog at Drumclog, and fog's a bit of a footer at Peter Cotter.
Okay, maybe that wasn't much of a clue. The weather's like that all over the UK and Ireland, but in case you haven't figured it out, this is Doric, found in Aberdeen, Scotland. Doric is sometimes counted among Scotland's other languages, English, Gaelic and Scots. It's officially protected by the European Charter for Regional or Minority Languages. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Teaching it in schools was once forbidden, but many are putting forth new efforts to keep it alive. Want to learn a bit of Doric for yourself? Well, check out these phrases here. But don't get too comfortable, because the next accent is no wee buns.
Boys a dear, I say this all the time when you've been jarred by something or you've received some news, you go, boys a dear.
All cards on the table with this one. This is a big area, and I do recognise there are many variations of this accent, maybe 50 shades or more. But bear with me, you'll have this one figured out in no time.
I'm not ready to figure it out.
One of the telltale features of this accent is that the letter R is always pronounced. So for those of us who aren't as accustomed to the rotic R, this is a chance for us to embrace our inner pirate. R.
Are you proud of your country?
How much of this can you understand?
Oh yeah, well he's fallen down the stairs and he's not really breathing, so I guess I'm gonna need like an ambulance.
Some say it sounds a bit like an American accent. Anyone agree? I'm not seeing it personally, but there are definitely some similarities there, but I can verify that this is not always the case. You recognise this guy?
Okay, here's how I grew up speaking. How you doing, Conan? Is it all right? Aaron's all right. Hi, I'm Liam Neeson. I'm from Ballymena, County Antrim, and I talk like this.
All right, I am pretty sure I gave it away with that clue. We are in none other than Northern Ireland, or Northern Ireland, as they like to call it in my favourite posh British accent.
Northern Ireland is known for basically me. and Liam Neeson.
If you're looking to learn some local lingo, check out these fantastic Northern Irish phrases.
This computer is banjaxed. It's taken 2 minutes for every website to load. Our
Banjaxed,
holiday
that's
retreat
awesome.
in August was absolutely beezer. They never stop talking. It completely does my head in.
Here are a few more choice words to keep in mind. Now, before we move on, let me warn you, this next accent involves ghosts.
It's the most haunted city in the world.
Okay, now I am intrigued. This is the most haunted city in the world, according to the locals. It has stories of haunted castles, pubs, and other places. Stories scary enough to keep even the bravest up at night.
So basically, when the Black Plague was wiping out most of Europe, managed to survive a bit by just being utterly ruthless in how they dealt with it because they couldn't come up with any medicine.
Glad I wasn't there during the Black Plague. But do ghosts really exist here?
When it comes to ghosts, I'm afraid I don't know where they rank on the PKE scale. I don't know what level of ectoplasm they may have. And yes, I was a Ghostbusters fan as a child.
This city was actually built over some very old bridges. The arches of these bridges were divided up into vaults. There are scores of these vaults that are still being discovered.
Started renovating the sub-basement, started digging everything out. So then I found a tunnel which led into the first of the vaults, which made me realise there was more and more vaults. I dropped the floor level here, lifted a slab here. As you can see, I found this big hole. There's a couple of tunnels going off to the left there and the right.
And I have it on good authority that these vaults just might also be haunted.
In recent years, people have reported a veritable avalanche of ghostly encounters. Visitors have had their hair pulled, clothes grabbed, and
That is
spines
creepy.
tingled. TV appearances aside, many visitors report seeing a particular spirit, sometimes called Mr. Boots. People often hear him tramping over the cobbles, whispering for them to get out, or, if they fail to get out, pelting them with small bits of masonry.
Okay, enough ghost stories for today. Let's move on. This area has an accent for sure, but also a dialect. See, influenced by Norse, it's one of the longest standing dialects in the country. Robert Louis Stevenson, author of Treasure Island, reportedly used it in his writings.
I live in the same area. It's a heavy area. Nice.
Her accent is not very strong. What do you think?
I can put it on if I want today, but I just can't be bothered half of the time because it's just like it's playing up. Whereas I was watching a whole lot of American TV, so I've really picked up a wee bit of like American slang in with all my words.
So, strong accent or not, haunted or not, we are in, of course, Edinburgh in Scotland, named Old Reekie, which means Old Smoky. The nickname came from thick smoke that came from coal fires, from the tenements in the old town. And these words here are straight from the Edinburgh dialect. You never know when they may come in handy. If you're done with ghost stories and want something a little less scary, I've got something free for you to try. Now, you might know by now that the reason I bring you these fun stories about accents and so forth is because I actually teach languages using stories. Stories are the most basic form of human communication. We've been tapping into this magic for thousands.
Now's a good chance to go check on my food. I'll be right back.
dozens of years, and even if you take away books forever, people will keep telling stories, true ones, made up ones. We love our stories for learning new things, and I've left you something completely free in the description below. It's called the Story Learning Kit. Town Council decided that their
4 or 5. My name's Tom. We're standing outside Paradise on a third round of a European Cup tie to qualify for the Champions League with my Polish friend, and I've known him for about half an hour, and I feel as if I've known him all my life.
But this town is one half of a rivalry that dates back to the 17th century, and scholars believe that this nearly 400-year-old argument started over bread. That's right, bread. Here's how it went down. In 1656, the town council decided that their bread was not up to standard. The local bakers just weren't doing their job. A neighbouring town decided to offer a solution. They would make bread for them. Nice, right? Apparently not. See, these guys took it as an insult that another town said they could bake bread better than they could. Well, the rest, as they say, is history. Believe it or not, this competition between cities is alive and well today. But what are the people here actually like?
We like a bit of fun. We're real, we're full of integrity, and we take everybody as we find them.
That is an admirable attitude. But what do they say to people that, really bother them?
One bile your head is another one, and it's just like, you're talking rubbish, or you're doing my head in, driving me mad. Away and bile your head, like, away and boil your head, essentially. Wow.
Bit harsh there, isn't it? I'll give you a hint, but it's not going to help. This accent has influence from the West Central Scots, but it also has strong influences from Irish English. Try this sentence on for size.
Took the dog out this morning, and the wee besom came back covered in glower.
We are in none other than Glasgow in Scotland, otherwise known
That's
as
where
the
my family's
Green
from.
Place. And who's their rival? Well, Edinburgh, of course. Old Reekie. Not sure who has the better bread today. Maybe I'll take a train and go and find out, but this looks like a strong contender to me. I think it's time to learn some Glaswegian words. Check these out. But just watch out for that Glasgow kiss if you know what's good for you.
Nobody wins with a headbutt.
He was talking about his dog is old and it's getting scaldy. So it's the same thing, second person plural. Use or yes. What do English people say? Oh, you lot, or whatever, you know what I mean?
This city was once a Scandinavian city. There's that Norse influence again, but it was also influenced by early Middle English and a bit of Norman French. Can you hear any of that here?
Generalisation. I think they're fine, but I can't say what I said about it, because I have a game every day, so... No problem, as good as any other one.
Here's the tricky thing about this accent. The city itself is divided into north and south, both with their own version of the accent. The northern side is more working class, while the southern is considered more posh. Can you tell which one this might be?
What is my favourite place? And that's a hard one.
I think it goes back and forth.
Where we're from.
Ah, that's nice. That's the airport.
Yeah, I like Holt.
The next example is often what is considered to be the quintessential Irish accent. What do you think?
So we were here first. The Vikings here first.
He is right, the Vikings were there first, but the accent, well, I think it's pretty safe to say that's not how a Viking would sound. We are in none other than Dublin, Ireland, the other capital of Ireland.
You have to come to Ireland to really just sort of get yourself involved in the atmosphere.
And if you want to take him up on his challenge to come to Ireland, these phrases from Dublin just might come in handy. If you're interested in really upping your Irish game, well, you should take a look at my book of Irish short stories. Super proud of this one. I love the cover as well. It will open your eyes to a whole new world. Right, tally up your scores and buckle up. It's time for a speed round. 2 more accents, but they're really quick. Let's see what you got.
Had a few chances in the last couple of games at the back post, and the keeper's pulled off a couple of saves, and was looking.
Oh, did you figure out? We are in Donegal in Ireland. Here's something interesting. English is not the first language of many people from Donegal. They often speak Ulster Irish, which is a slight variation of Gaelic. Here's an example.
Tastic Madiwalya, Ken Creek,
Apparently my mom's
in
side of the
Ulster
family
Irish,
did
it would be
that.
Madri with an R in it. The rest is history. Everybody knows what happened.
And if you're ever planning on taking a trip to Donegal, here are a few words that will get you up to speed.
Donegal. Antland.
Ready for the last one?
During the war,
Antland.
come on, what's the chairman person on myself to you? And the Englishman, he was wild, I don't know what they were saying, you know. And he said, and his fence and all, and my man, he was with me, we out in the glass, we had spittle.
And we put a stone on him. He said, der Stein muss draußen bleiben.
And there you have it. The dialect of Caithness was influenced by both Gaelic and Norn. It has a beautiful familiar ring to it. Check out these words from the Caithness dialect that are sure to put a smile on your face. But let me ask you this, which variety of English is your favourite? Something I haven't even mentioned? Maybe it's something from further afield. Let me know in the comments, and if you'd like to keep the game going, check out this next accent video, which is sure to make you think.
From what I can trace back from ancestry, my family's from the, one side is from the Scottish Irish, the Ulster Irish. And then one of them was from like Glasgow. Both. Yes.
Oh, it's still hot.
What if your eye colour holds a secret, passed down through thousands of years of ancestry? From icy blue eyes in Northern Europe to deep hazel tones in Iberia, every shade tells a story. So in this video we're going to explore the fascinating links between eye colour and ancestry. Now look at this table. It shows the breakdown of eye colours across the globe. As you can see, brown is by far the most common, at around 70 to 80% of the world's population. Depending on the source, either grey or green eyes is considered the rarest eye colour on earth. And please let me know your eye colour and ancestry in the comments below. Now, varying levels of melanin is the main driver of your eye colour, which is largely driven by genetic mutations in the OCA2 and HERC2 genes. Gender also seems to influence eye colour to some degree. Various studies have shown that men are more likely to have blue eyes than women, which could be linked to higher estrogen levels. Now let's look at all the different eye colours and their ancestral links. First up is brown eyes, the original human eye colour, and at one point all human beings had brown eyes. They are caused by a very high concentration of melanin in the iris, a protective pigment that helps shield the eyes from ultraviolet radiation. From an ancestral perspective, brown eyes have always been advantageous near the equator, most notably in Africa of course. This higher concentration of melanin in brown eyes offers much more protection against intense sunlight than, say, blue eyes. Now, you sometimes see people refer to black eyes, but from a biological perspective, they are typically extremely dark brown. While they may appear black to the naked eye, under strong lighting, they usually reveal brown or reddish tones. Now look at this table. It shows the breakdown of brown eyes per region of the globe. They are highest in sub-Saharan Africa and East Asia, of course, at over 99%. North Africa shows a little more variability though, at around 90 to 95%. Colours like hazel and green are slightly more common here, and we even see grey eyes in some Berber populations of North Africa that we will discuss later. What is interesting is that the different regions of Europe show an incredible level of variability of brown eyes, as this table shows. People in southern Europe, in places like Spain, Italy, Greece and Portugal, have much higher levels of brown eyes than people in northern Europe, at 70 to 90% compared to 20 to 30% in the north. Various factors influence this. These include climate and also admixture events, as southern Europe had much more contact with North African ancestry than northern Europe down through history. And speaking of Europe, this leads us nicely on to blue eyes. Now, blue eyes are obviously a key marker of European ancestry, and they're very old on the continent. This is Cheddar Man, for instance, a 10,000-year-old hunter-gatherer who lived in ancient England, and we know that he probably had blue eyes or blue-green eyes. We know this because he had the mutations in the HERC2 and OCA2 genes, which are the main cause of lighter eyes through reducing melanin production. And he wasn't an isolated case. Many other European hunter-gatherers had blue eyes or lighter eyes in general. Despite their appearance though, blue eyes actually have no blue pigment in them at all. Instead, they have a relatively low amount of melanin, which allows light to be scattered in the iris, leading to a blue-looking colour. This is a similar process to why the sky looks blue. Today, blue eyes are the second most common eye colour in the world, found in around 8 to 10% of people. They are obviously most common in Europe, especially in Northern Europe and Northeast Europe, highest in places like the Baltic states, Scandinavia and Finland. Climate is probably a key reason for this, given the dark, wintry environment of Northern Europe. We know in general that lighter eyes are more sensitive to light, and blue eyes seem to perform better in low lighting conditions than brown eyes, as a 2024 paper found. From an evolutionary perspective, one obvious benefit of this would be that blue-eyed individuals had a better ability to hunt in low light conditions than darker-eyed individuals. Various other factors also play a role though, and I do discuss these in a previous video on the origin and reason for blue eyes in general. Outside of Europe, we also see blue eyes in some other populations. The Americas is the prime example of this. In North America, around 15 to 30% of people have blue eyes. Further south in Latin America, we see blue eyes in between 1 and 10% of people. These levels are largely a result of European admixture, either through the direct migration of European families or through peoples mixing with Europeans. Various events down through history played a
Now it just needs some pepper. It's hot. Pepper. Okay, now I can move everything back. It's a process. Give me a second. That's not what we want. Excusez-moi.
Role in the spread, but the age of European empires and colonisation was a key episode. The likes of the Spanish, the Portuguese, the British, the Dutch, the French spread European genes across the world, with the genes for blue eyes part of this spread. What about hazel eyes though? Well, they get their name from the hazelnut, and they make up around 5% of the world's population. Hazel eyes are found in a wide range of ethnic groups, but they are most common in people of Brazilian, Middle Eastern and North African or Spanish descent. A 2009 study, for instance, found that 55.2% of their Spanish cohort had hazel green eyes. In the United States, about 18% of people have this eye colour, reflecting the mixed European ancestries there. As I noted in a previous video on Iberian DNA and hazel eyes, they are often found in populations where blue and brown-eyed ancestry has mixed, such as in Iberia. Now, hazel eyes can often appear more green or more brown, and the concentration of melanin is somewhere in between blue eyes and brown eyes, somewhere in the middle, with brown having a lot of melanin and blue having little. A yellow pigment called lipochrome is also usually present as well. This blend allows hazel irises to reflect a mosaic of colours. The science behind hazel eyes is essentially a combination of Rayleigh scattering on one hand, which is the same phenomenon behind blue eyes, and a moderate amount of melanin in the iris. Next up is amber eyes, which are of a solid golden yellow hue, often compared to the rich colour of honey. This eye colour is distinct from hazel, and the amber eyes usually do not show the mixed greens or browns that hazel eyes do. Instead, they are more of a uniform gold, copper or russet tone. The golden tint comes from the presence of lots of lipochrome, this yellow pigment in the iris, coupled with low to moderate melanin. In the animal kingdom, many creatures have amber eyes. For instance, wolves, domestic cats, owls and eagles often exhibit yellow or orange irises due to similar pigments. They are sometimes known as wolf eyes due to this. In humans, however, pure amber eyes are quite rare, occurring in an estimated 5% of people worldwide. The highest numbers of people with amber eyes are found in Europe, especially southern Europe and places like Spain. We also see them at elevated levels in the Middle East and the Caucasus, as well as North Africa, Latin America and North America to some level. Because amber eyes can sometimes be mistaken for hazel or light brown, their exact distribution is not well documented. Now, one of the most enigmatic and rarest eye colours is green, found in only 2%, around 2% of the world's population. They are most common in people of Celtic or Germanic ancestry, and they're also connected to the Vikings down through history to some degree. If you look at this table, you can see the countries that have the most people with green eyes, which are Ireland, Scotland and Iceland. They are also relatively common in places like Scandinavia and Germany. One study noted that among Americans of European descent, those with Celtic or Germanic heritage had the highest prevalence of green eyes, at around 16%. In Iceland, a survey found green eyes in about 18 to 20% of women and 8 to 10% of men. This hints at a curious sex difference when it comes to this eye colour. Now, true green eyes result from a combination of pigments on one hand and scattering. They have a moderate amount of melanin, plus this golden yellow pigment called lipochrome in the iris. When light enters, the brown melanin can give a yellow or light brown cast, which mixes with blue light scattering from the stroma, producing green. From a historical perspective, it is plausible that green eyes emerged in populations where blue eye variants and brown eye variants intermingled, although they do have a complex genetic makeup that isn't really fully understood yet. Some ancient DNA evidence hints that green eyes may have been present in Eurasia during the Bronze Age. A 2009 study, for instance, concluded that South Siberians were blue or green-eyed, fair-skinned and light-haired people, and that they might have played a role in the early development of the Tarim Basin civilization. Now next up is another very rare eye colour, potentially the rarest eye colour in the world, grey. Now estimates do seem to vary on how rare they are. Some estimate that around 1% of the world's population have grey eyes, whereas others put the figure at more like 3%. Like blue eyes, grey eyes have a low level of melanin and rely on light scattering, but scientists think there's maybe an extra factor at play that distinguishes them from blue. One hypothesis is that grey eyes have more collagen deposits in the stroma, which is the front layer of the iris, which tend to scatter light differently. Others argue that grey and blue eyes might have different concentrations of melanin. What we do know is that under magnification, grey irises often show specks of yellow and brown pigment amidst the grey. Now grey eyes are most commonly found in the same general regions as blue eyes, i.e. Northern and Eastern Europe. For example, grey eyes can be frequently seen among the people in the Baltic states, Scandinavia as well as in parts of Russia. Some Vikings also seem to have had grey eyes and probably helped to spread this trait to some degree. Grey eyes also pop up in unexpected places though, likely due to ancient migrations. Certain Berber peoples in North Africa, for example, such as the Shawiya people of Algeria, have a higher occurrence of grey or grey-blue eyes, a legacy perhaps of Euro-Mediterranean gene flow over centuries. Grey or blue eyes can also be seen occasionally in the Middle East, Iran and South Asia. For instance, amongst the peoples of Afghanistan or northern India, reflecting admixture with Eurasian steppe ancestors or simply the diversity within those large populations. These instances remind us how human migrations and conquests have spread eye genes far and wide. But what is your eye colour? Please let me know in the comments below and let me know what your ancestry is as well. And as we have seen, your eye colour can actually reveal quite a lot about your ancestry.
Okay, so yeah,
but to find out more about hazel eyes and Iberian DNA, please click here. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and hit the bell, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.
So yeah, I don't want to hear me chew. Well, that's funny. Cool. Excuse me. Ooh, let's watch this one. This would be interesting.
I'm here.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. We are on episode 27 and it's going to be super special and exciting because we have our second guest ever, Nate Kane. I thought you were clapping for yourself. Oh, God. Yeah, welcome to the podcast, Nate.
I'm here for good. No.
Replacing our co-host.
Hey, if you guys want it, let me know.
Out of control to start.
Yeah, here we go. And...
What? What's going on?
I don't know.
Okay, well, for those of you who may not know, Nate is my uncle, my dad's younger brother, but also kind of grew up together because Nate lived with us for a while when I was young. So he's kind of like a brunkle.
Or a funkle.
I would say a brother uncle more than a fun. No, it's a combination of the three.
There you go.
You definitely act younger than your age. I always think that we are closer in age than you are to Dad,
Right.
but still, I never realized like how much older you are than me because I feel like you are like a brother. So
Young at heart. Young at heart.
So you kind of grew up with us and, you know, lived with us for a while. And one of the things that Brittany and I have talked about on the podcast is growing up, we were convinced there was a ghost in the house that we grew up in. So to start out, to be a little shady, was that you? Confession time.
It was definitely not.
That's unfortunate to hear. So you can confirm some of these like crazy ghost stories that we always talked about, because when it was Halloween time, I told quite a few stories and Brittany corroborated some of them.
Yeah, I had quite the experiences.
You too. I remember you telling me before, but I thought maybe you were playing into it so that you would scare us. Because you were a little troublemaker back in the day. I have some good memories to share. So you were like a young adult, late teen at the time that you lived with us, right?
Yeah.
So
Started living there around 16.
okay. And one of the things I remember is how messy your room always was.
What do you mean? That was clean.
Oh, yeah. So Nate would have piles of clothes in there, which us being young and idiots, we would go knock on the door and ask Nate if we could go looking for change through his piles of clothes. Good times.
Yeah, so it got a little out of control, I could say. I admit it.
You had a bunch of clothes because you would didn't you say you would like take whatever Dad didn't want anymore?
So he would get so many free clothes and buy clothes that I would just take some. So I would take his hand-me-downs and like his big, huge Fat Farm outfits and stuff that I thought would fit me, being like, what was I, 110 pounds at that time, just trying to wear like a 3XL. Fit perfect.
You know what? Baggy clothes are in style now, though. So you were ahead of your time.
I guess you could say that.
And also, didn't you so you took Dad's clothes, but you also dyed your hair too to match his, didn't you? Those were the days, man.
I mean, it grew like that.
Yeah.
As I got older, my hair started turning blonde.
Oh, that's how it usually goes, right?
Yeah, it's like a psychedelic genetic thing to where if one sibling dyes their hair, it kind of just...
the others just naturally goes that way?
Yeah.
Didn't you... What'd you say, you dyed your eyebrows too?
When I was 12 and went to your dad's first show, my brother, obviously, my cousin John convinced me, going to his show, that not only should I dye my hair, that my brother, your dad, dyes his eyebrows. Being young, I'm like, oh, really? So I want to dye my eyebrows too. sounds like a perfect
Oh,
idea.
no.
I want to look
Really
like twins.
looked up to his brother. That's awesome.
Yeah, not the case.
He didn't dye his eyebrows, so you just looked like, hey, you know what, though? That's ahead of the time, too, because everyone bleaches their eyebrows
Hey,
now.
I look like a ferret. I was like an albino ferret that
You
just
just-
didn't have the red eyes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have pretty dark hair naturally, so I can imagine that it kind of just probably looked like you didn't have eyebrows.
You couldn't even see my expression if I was excited to be there. He was like, oh, does he like it or no? I'm smiling.
So you were like 12 when all that happened?
Yep. I was 12.
So I was like barely, I was, what,
I
2?
drank on my tea.
Like a baby.
Yeah, baby. See, because like I think probably that's why like our experience was a lot different, because I don't really remember. Like I remember some things before,
Yeah.
but like I didn't totally understand what was going on, and like you were definitely old enough more to understand what was going on.
Yep. I started understanding it a little more when, reality would hit, when I would start seeing him more on TV and going to shows and all the signatures and crazy people. I'm like, all right, well, this is real.
Yeah. See, like I didn't really know the magnitude of things, but I also like I was I think more sheltered from it than you, since you were like a little bit older when it was all happening.
Mm-hmm.
But you came to live with us after that, so like that was, you were like 12 when that was happening, and then a little bit later, you came and
Yep,
lived
a few
with us.
years when I was able to leave from being in my mom's care, I moved in with you guys.
Yeah, that's why it's like you kind of were like,
I was pretty much,
brother, dad figure, Brunkle. But I also
I like that
remember
term, Brunkle.
It was your
It'd be a
room
good
was,
way
like,
to
right across the hall from
describe my
mine.
Uncle Sean.
And the one thing about you
Brunkle.
were up at all times. I could always, I always do if I knock on your door. You were up.
Oh yeah.
You had always so much besides the clothes in your room, snacks, and just there was a fridge and a microwave in there. And I never like that. To me was the weirdest. Also, like I thought it was so cool when I was younger. I'm like, oh, his microwave's
I'm staying ahead of my time,
I guess so. Well, that was like basically your dorm room, I guess you could say. Like,
Yeah, I was in college when I was there.
you treated it. You
Yeah.
treated it that way.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, let me just heat up some noodles next to my to my
some
bed.
ramen, some ramen, pop in some popcorn, watch a movie with my late night Walmart trips.
Yeah, you did used to do that a lot.
So I would get these spikes of randomness where I would literally be like, it'd be late and I'd be like, tell my friend Nemo, hey, let's go to Myers, let's go to Walmart. And I want to get something. He's like, what do you want to get?
I don't know. The store will
I
tell
don't
me.
know, but when we get there, I'm going to find something. And I come home with like coffee table, couch, like that microwave, a fridge.
You set up a whole like living room in your room. I remember that. And also in your closet, you turned it into like a DJ a DJ space too, didn't you?
Hey, you got to have fun even when you're not going out.
I guess so.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. They have a thing like that's similar to Omegle, and it
Like
was
the chat, the online chat thing.
yeah. So it was like a face-to-face chat with a bunch of people, and I would just have, I'd go in there with random strangers, but I'd also have like some of my close friends, one of my friend Chris and stuff like that, go in there, and I would play music and be the DJ because sometimes they would have somebody just playing a radio, so I was like, I'm gonna close off the space and I'm gonna try to be the entertainment. So I would go in there, set everything up, close the door, try to move some of my clothes out of the way.
Yeah, they were all
and I would literally play some music, and I was in my 20s. I wasn't a teenager at this time.
Oh, okay.
I can clarify that. I was not a teenager. I was like, 23, 24. Or probably 22. And I would, if I couldn't go out to the bar, I would join that chat, play the music, and me and a friend would drink and pretend we were in a club.
Wow, sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, I like to have fun.
Yeah, I never really knew that was in there. Like, I knew, like, we would always want to go hang out in there, but then we were like, you know, we were so young. So
like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, like, what is he doing in the closet? But
it was a party.
Apparently,
Yeah,
that I didn't know
we
about.
just didn't have a bouncer.
Yeah, well, all the animals would also get into your room.
Oh yeah.
Remember that debacle? We had some like dogs that would get in there because everybody in the house apparently knew that that was the room where all the snacks were.
Oh yeah. I mean, it went from my friend Nemo eating all the easy cheese and raiding the cabinet all the time where all the snacks were.
We did that too.
So I would hoard them in my room late after the bar, or just staying up, couldn't sleep after playing video games or something. And I knew you guys were up, you were going to try to come in there and steal some snacks, because there is none, because I took them all.
Yeah, those were the days. But I was thinking for this episode, we've never had a guy's perspective on some of these pop culture shady things we talk about. So I was going to kind of treat it like you're the co-host, as you said in the beginning.
Here we go.
And go through some of the things that happened last week. And then I'll ask you some stuff like based on what's going on.
Excuse me.
What's going on?
So, first and foremost, did you see that Paris Hilton was like, you know, pop princess of your time, just had a baby via surrogate at 41 years old.
Ooh.
So, you have kids, too.
I do. I do have kids. I have 3.
And how old were you when you had kids?
Around 24, 25.
So, do you feel like you wish you were any younger or older when you had kids?
No, I'm at a content age. Having
Yeah.
kids at that age, I think that's still like a great age. Unless you don't want kids.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, if you want to be that old parent that's not fun, you know me. Like I said, I'm young at heart, and I want to be able to share my experiences with my kids. And I didn't have a father, so it'd be nice to be that father to them that I didn't have.
Well, you definitely are. Like, I would say that that's one thing, like, about you that I was, when we were growing up, like I said, like, you were always, like, the older brother, kind of like a little troublemaker, you know.
I balanced it.
Yeah, but, well, never to us. Like, obviously, we always got along, but I always was kind of like, you know, you were like, you would get in trouble, and, you know, I was like a little nervous for like if you ever had kids or anything like that, that I was concerned, but just when
See if they have more music reactions. I need.
Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome back to JBLito TV. Back at you guys with another reaction. Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome back to JBLito TV, and I'm back at you guys with another reaction. Now we'll be reacting to Jason Aldean, Traded in a Small Town. Man, this request have been heavy. I've been getting so many requests to do this song, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna finally do it. So for those who are new to my channel, all my reactions are real, authentic. What you see is what you get. No editing, just make the video and put it out there.
That's how I'm doing it.
So yeah. Welcome to JBLito TV. Let's go. Let's see what all this controversial talk is about.
Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
So, what people were saying was this song was controversial because they saying it was racist. Let me tell you guys something. As a black man in America, I've seen it all, man. I've been discriminated against a lot of times in my life, man. And it wasn't just from Caucasian people. It was from other different races, including some of my own. I could say I'm listening to the song right now and I hear nothing racist. I hear nothing racist in the song. I hear somebody who wants to defend their town. Let me say something. I have never been a fan of the looting, the riots, and just the pure destruction in our own towns. I have never, because these are the same places I have to go get food or toilet paper or water, but I can't go to this place now because you destroyed it. I'm not a fan. And because I've never been a fan of, even when I was, back when I wasn't doing the right things, back in my teenhood, like I was doing a lot of stuff that was just, it wasn't right. But I've never agreed with destruction. I'm not a fan of it. And I hear this song and I hear I want to protect my community, my place that I grew up, the place that I was born and raised. I'm not a fan of seeing the news, watching the news, or driving by a gas station or one of these convenience stores and just seeing yellow tape around it because somebody killed the clerk robbing the store, or somebody robbed and killed an old man or old woman. I'm not a fan of that. That's disgusting to me. So he's saying try that in this small town. I get it. This is not racist at all. But let's continue to listen. I'll give the rest of my feedback after the song is over.
Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're gonna round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town full of good old boys, raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. Try that in a small town.
Man, when I agreed to these kind of songs, you guys, in the past, I've been doing this reaction thing for since 2018 or not 2018, but 2019. I don't know, 2019, I believe. And the songs that I've agreed to throughout my whole YouTube career, I've been called a sellout. I've been called an Uncle Tom. One I used to always hear is Malcolm X will be looking at you sideways, and this Malcolm X is another one of those guys that I looked up to growing up. So I'm just being real. I'm just being honest. Living in America, man, this is all I know. And it is so much beauty in America to me. I look at other countries sometimes and I see the wars that are going on, the bombings, the killing of kids, which is disgusting. And it just makes me think, man, I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be living in America and don't have to worry about that. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. I see the wars. I hear of the wars, and it breaks my heart, man. It breaks my heart.
I might go bed. I'm getting tired.
But back to this song. Again, not a fan of the rioting, the looting, the murdering. All of it just has to stop. This is why I love my channel, man. This is the reason why songs like this is the reason why I react to every genre of music. Every single genre of music, rap, opera, country music, R&B, no matter what it is, I react to it all to bring everybody together.
That's what music does. It brings everybody together. This is what I love
mostly about this channel, man. Man, this song was beautiful to me, man. Personally. But, man, if you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, please make sure to hit that subscribe button.
I'm sleepy. Only 11:30 though.
Someone who has been through too much finally sits down, on a bed, on a bus seat, on the floor of a bathroom, doesn't matter where. What matters is the feeling. They sit there, not because they're tired, but because something inside them quietly collapses, like a bridge holding up more weight than it was ever designed to carry. And if you've ever lived through something like that, even once, then you know that it doesn't break loudly. It doesn't crash. It just folds. Softly, silently, as if the heart itself whispers, I can't hold all of this at the same time. People who have gone through too much understand that moment in a way others can't. And the strangest part is that you rarely realize you've become that person until life forces you to notice. Someone asks, why are you so calm about things that should bother you? And you don't know how to explain that it's not calmness, it's not peace, it's the quiet numbness that grows when your mind has been stretched far beyond what it was designed to process. It's the stillness that happens when your emotions have run too many marathons without rest. Most people think resilience means strength, but resilience for people who have gone through too much feels more like a survival instinct. Something you do because you had no other choice. And because of that, you carry a psychology that others can sense even if they can't describe it. There is a gravity to you, a depth behind your eyes, a softness in how you listen, a heaviness in how you pause before answering questions. You learn to fold your emotions into shapes that fit into the corners of your mind. You learn to keep walking even when your inner world feels like a storm. And there's something almost paradoxical about it. People who have gone through too much often appear wise, calm, mature, thoughtful. They seem like the ones who have it together. But if anyone could open up their internal world, even for a moment, they would realize that this maturity wasn't earned.
Excuse me, sorry for coughing so much. Ooh, what's this one?
Maybe you've had the experience of driving on autopilot. 1 minute you get in your car, and the next minute you've arrived at your destination, but you can't remember the details of the drive. This is an example of normal, everyday dissociation, a term that describes a mental state of disconnection from what's going on around you. Normally, this daydreamy state doesn't last very long, and most people can snap out of it if something or someone requires their attention. But for some people, dissociation is more pervasive and can't be tuned out of so easily. In fact, the feeling of disconnection may become so intense and happen so often that it stops a person from functioning in their daily life. And when this is the case, we say that the person has a dissociative disorder. Dissociative disorders are a group of disorders that can cause impaired awareness of one's own actions, thoughts, physical sensations, and even identity, which is a sense of who you are. Dissociative disorders tend to stem from trauma, usually early childhood abuse or neglect, and are thought to be a way of adapting to negative feelings and experiences. Dissociative disorders are divided into three main types: depersonalization derealization disorder, dissociative amnesia, and dissociative identity disorder. Each of these disorders falls along a spectrum of severity, with depersonalization derealization disorder being the least severe end of the dissociative disorders, dissociative amnesia falling somewhere in the middle, and dissociative identity disorder being the most severe. Typically, individuals with more severe dissociative disorders may have elements of less severe ones as well. With depersonalization derealization disorder, depersonalization refers to a feeling of detachment from oneself, your own person, while derealization refers to a feeling that the world around you isn't fully real. Those with the disorder often feel as if they're watching themselves from the outside, maybe watching a movie about their life. They might feel emotionally or physically numb, or have a weak sense of self. Individuals with depersonalization-derealization disorder might speak in a deadpan manner with little emotion and have trouble forming relationships. In severe cases, a person may have trouble recognizing familiar places, people, or objects, and this can make it hard to learn new tasks. Other symptoms include an altered sense of time, where things seem to move too fast or slow, brain fog or lightheadedness, and being prone to rumination and anxiety. Dissociative amnesia is when a person blocks out or forgets important personal information that most people would remember for a lifetime, like where they lived as a child or what their mother looked like. Dissociative amnesia can be divided into 4 types: localized, generalized, systematized, and continuous. Most people with dissociative amnesia have localized amnesia, meaning they have trouble recalling a traumatic event. Sometimes the memory loss is broader and includes months or years surrounding the event. Generalized amnesia is where a person can't remember any of their past, even non-traumatic parts. The onset of generalized amnesia can be sudden, stress-induced, and may be accompanied by a dissociative fugue, meaning a temporary period of disorientation and wandering or travel. In a fugue state, a person may be confused about who they are, or they may believe that they're someone else. They may also temporarily lose deeply ingrained skills. For example, a computer engineer may forget how to use a laptop. In systematized amnesia, a person only forgets a category of information which is in some way associated with a trauma, like forgetting everything about a certain person or a specific location, even if it was a significant part of their life. And finally, continuous amnesia happens when a person forgets each new event after it happens and retains nothing but the present moment, a bit like the fish Dory in the film Finding Nemo. And continuous amnesia doesn't always relate back to psychological trauma. The third type of dissociative disorder is dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder. Dissociative identity disorder can be broken down into 2 types: covert dissociative identity disorder and overt dissociative identity disorder. By far the most common type, covert dissociative identity disorder occurs when a person experiences sudden and dramatic shifts in the way they perceive, think, or feel, as if they've taken on characteristics of a different person or people. Some people with covert may hear that person's voice and feel that it's speaking to them. Those with covert dissociative identity disorder are usually aware that their experience is unusual, and may feel disoriented and powerless to understand their moods and behaviour.
Ow.
On the other hand, those with overt dissociative identity disorder outright assume 2 or more distinct identities, sometimes called personalities or alters. The identities are distinct because they tend to talk and act differently than the original person. They may have opposing tastes or political views, be different ages, genders, or nationalities. These alternate identities completely take a person's body and mind, suppressing all other identities temporarily. Those with overt dissociative identity disorder aren't always aware that this is happening, and may report forgetting whole portions of their day. They may find groceries that they can't recall buying, or discover injuries to their body that they can't recall getting. And it's not unusual for some people to have a period of fugue and suddenly find themselves in a different town or city. Having overt dissociative identity disorder can potentially endanger the person, especially if one identity engages in self-mutilation or risky behaviour. The prevalence of suicide among those with the condition is very high, with almost 3/4 attempting suicide at least once in their life. Diagnosing dissociative disorders can be tricky, and some of the symptoms can be seen in substance intoxication, especially of hallucinogens like LSD, and dissociative drugs like PCP and ketamine. Other causes include seizures, brain trauma, as well as chronic conditions like dementia. Psychiatric conditions like anxiety disorder can cause an impaired sense of identity, time, and sensation, especially during a panic attack. But these symptoms usually last minutes to hours, whereas with dissociative disorders, the symptoms can persist for years. Finally, Bipolar disorder and schizophrenia can also cause dramatic mood swings, mimicking dissociative identity disorder. But while these depressive or euphoric moods can last for a week, the change in personality in dissociative identity disorder only lasts for minutes to hours each time. Treatment for dissociative disorders typically involves psychotherapy, so people can process the trauma safely. In the case of dissociative identity disorder, the goal of therapy is to facilitate fusion of identities, where a person's personality states are integrated and the person feels more whole. Alright, as a quick recap, dissociative disorders often develop as an attempt to adapt to severe or prolonged trauma. Falling on the least severe end of the spectrum, depersonalization derealization disorder is due to a disruption in the normal perception of events. Falling in the middle of the spectrum, dissociative amnesia is due to disruption in memory. And falling on the most severe end of the spectrum, dissociative identity disorder is due to a problem with having a single complete identity.
Hi everyone, Sarah here. Thanks for watching that video on dissociative disorders. I found that absolutely fascinating to animate and really enjoyed it. I hope it was useful and I hope I conveyed the information well. So let us know what you think. If you found it useful, what you did like, what you didn't, any feedback would be brilliant.
I got my own disorder.
Imagine trying to grab water with your bare hands. No matter how tightly you clench, it slips through your fingers, leaving you with just a damp, frustrated grip. That's often what living with ADHD can feel like. It's not a lack of effort, not a flaw in character, and certainly not something you can just try harder to overcome. It's a neurological reality, a different way the brain is wired, and it impacts everything from focus to emotional regulation. For years, ADHD was dismissed as a problem with hyperactive kids who couldn't sit still, but that's a dangerously narrow view. The truth is, ADHD is complex, multifaceted, and manifests in countless ways. It's a spectrum, and understanding its symptoms is the first step toward managing it, embracing its unique aspects, and ultimately, thriving with it. In this video, we're diving deep, pulling back the curtain on every major ADHD symptom, explaining what they truly mean and why they matter. So, if you've ever felt like your brain is running a marathon while your body is stuck in quicksand, or that your internal world is a whirlwind of brilliant ideas and frustrating missteps, then this is for you. Let's unpack the reality of ADHD, one symptom at a time. Symptom 1, the elusive nature of focus. Inattention. When people think of ADHD, inattention is often the first thing that comes to mind. But it's not simply not paying attention. It's more like your brain has 1,000 open tabs, and they're all vying for your attention simultaneously. Imagine trying to read a book while a dozen other conversations are happening around you. A TV is blaring, and a dozen thoughts about what you need to do later are screaming for acknowledgement. It's not that you can't focus, it's that your focus is constantly being pulled in different directions. This can look like difficulty sustaining attention on tasks, even those you find interesting, making careless mistakes, not listening when spoken to directly, failing to follow through on instructions, or easily getting sidetracked. It's the constant battle against a wandering mind, the internal tug of war between what you should be doing and what your brain wants to do. The world is too interesting, and every stimulus becomes an invitation for exploration. Symptom 2, the restless spirit, hyperactivity. While not every person with ADHD experiences significant hyperactivity, it's a hallmark symptom, especially in childhood. But it's not always about bouncing off the walls. For adults, hyperactivity often internalizes. It can manifest as an inner restlessness, a feeling of being driven by a motor. Even when you're sitting still, it might be fidgeting, tapping, pacing, or an overwhelming urge to always be doing something. It's the constant need for movement, even subtle. This can make quiet activities difficult, lead to excessive talking, or a general feeling of being unable to truly relax. It's the physical manifestation of an overactive brain, the body mirroring the mind's unceasing hum. This isn't a choice. It's
No, see, that makes a lot of frickin' sense. I was diagnosed with ADHD back in 95 or 96. Pretty sure I was diagnosed at the age of 6. So I've had it all my life. I'm in my 30s now, and it's still a major issue. It's hard to function with it, and then I have other issues on top of that now, and it just, So,
an intrinsic drive that demands an outlet. Symptom 3, the impulse control challenge. Impulsivity. This symptom can be incredibly challenging and often misunderstood. Impulsivity means acting without thinking through the consequences. This isn't recklessness for the thrill of it. It's a breakdown in the brain's stop mechanism. It can lead to blurting out answers, interrupting conversations, making hasty decisions, overspending, or engaging in risky behaviors without proper foresight. It's the inability to hit the brakes before the thought becomes an action. This can strain relationships, create financial difficulties, and lead to regret. The pause button in the brain, which allows for reflection and consideration, often feels broken. The immediate urge takes precedence, and the future consequences only become clear in hindsight. Symptom 4, the time warp, time blindness. This is one of the most frustrating and often overlooked symptoms. Time blindness isn't just being bad at managing time. It's a fundamental difficulty in perceiving and estimating its passage. For someone with ADHD, time isn't a linear progression. It's more like a series of nows. The past is a vague memory, and the future is an abstract concept that feels perpetually far away until it's suddenly upon you. This leads to chronic lateness, underestimating how long tasks will take, difficulty planning, and missing deadlines. A deadline that feels weeks away can suddenly be tomorrow, and the urgency only kicks in when it's too late. It's like living in a perpetual present, where the clock is always playing tricks on your perception. Symptom 5, the emotional roller coaster, emotional dysregulation. While not officially part of the diagnostic criteria in some manuals, emotional dysregulation is a profoundly impactful symptom for many with ADHD. This means experiencing emotions intensely and having difficulty regulating their expression. Small frustrations can escalate into explosive anger. Minor setbacks can trigger deep sadness, and joy can be overwhelming. It's not that emotions are wrong, it's that the internal thermostat for emotional responses is skewed. This can lead to frequent mood swings, irritability, low frustration tolerance, and an inability to bounce back from emotional upsets quickly. It's like living with an exposed nerve ending, where every emotional experience is amplified, and the ability to self-soothe is compromised. The world feels more intense, and your reactions often mirror that intensity. Symptom 6, the struggle to start, task initiation, difficulty. This isn't about laziness. It's about the brain's ability to kickstart action. Task initiation difficulty means knowing what you need to do, wanting to do it, but feeling an invisible wall between your intention and action. It's like standing at the edge of a swimming pool, desperate to get in, but unable to take the first step. This can manifest as procrastination, leaving tasks unfinished, or feeling paralyzed by overwhelming to-do lists. The friction required to begin a task, even a simple one, can feel insurmountable. This often leads to feelings of guilt and shame, as others may perceive it as a lack of motivation, when in reality, it's a neurological hurdle. The path from thought to action is cluttered with invisible obstacles. Symptom 7, the memory maze, working memory deficits. Working memory is like your brain's temporary notepad, where you hold information to manipulate it. For those with ADHD, this notepad often feels incredibly small or leaky. This means difficulty remembering instructions, forgetting what you were just doing, losing track of conversations, or struggling to follow multi-step directions. It's why you might walk into a room and forget why you entered, or constantly misplace your keys and phone. It's not a problem with long-term memory. It's the short-term, active memory that struggles to retain information in the moment. This can make everyday tasks feel like a constant scavenger hunt for information. Symptom 8, the hyperfocus paradox, when focus becomes a trap. This symptom is the fascinating, often misunderstood counterpoint to inattention. Hyperfocus is the ability to intensely concentrate on something that does capture your interest. to the exclusion of everything else. It can be a superpower when directed toward productive tasks, leading to incredible bursts of creativity and productivity. However, it can also be a significant challenge. You might lose track of time, forget to eat, neglect responsibilities, or be absorbed in an activity while the rest of the world fades away. It's like a laser beam of attention, incredibly powerful but difficult to redirect once engaged. The world outside the hyper-focused task simply ceases to exist, making transitions incredibly difficult. Symptom 9. The organizational overload, disorganization. This is more than just a messy desk. Disorganization in ADHD stems from difficulties with executive functions like planning, prioritizing, and managing information. It can manifest as cluttered living spaces, chaotic work environments, missed appointments, and a general struggle to maintain order. It's not a lack of desire for organization. It's a struggle with the process of organizing and maintaining it, keeping track of belongings, managing paperwork, or creating effective systems can feel like trying to build a sandcastle in a hurricane. The sheer volume of information and tasks can be overwhelming, leading to a constant state of mild chaos. Symptom 10. The rejection sensitivity, RSD. Rejection sensitive dysphoria, RSD, is an intense emotional pain in response to perceived or actual criticism, rejection, or teasing. While not a standalone diagnosis, it's a common and profoundly painful experience for many with ADHD. The emotional response is disproportionate to the event, leading to feelings of shame, intense sadness, or anger. It's like having an emotional sunburn, where even a gentle touch feels excruciating. This can lead to people-pleasing behaviors, avoiding social situations, or withdrawing from relationships to protect themselves from perceived hurt. The fear of being judged or criticized can be debilitating, creating a constant state of hypervigilance in social interactions. Symptom 11. The energy fluctuations, dysregulation of energy levels. People with ADHD often experience significant and unpredictable shifts in their energy levels. One moment they might feel wired and restless, buzzing with an almost frantic energy. The next, they can feel completely drained, exhausted, and lethargic, struggling to even move. This isn't just normal tiredness. It's an extreme and rapid fluctuation that can be incredibly disruptive. It's like your internal battery goes from 100% to 5% in minutes, without any clear reason. This can make consistent performance challenging and contributes to the feeling of being on or off rather than having a steady, predictable energy supply. Managing daily life becomes a constant negotiation with these unpredictable surges and crashes. Symptom 12. The overwhelm epidemic, sensory overload and brain fog. Finally, many with ADHD experience heightened sensitivity to sensory input, leading to sensory overload. Bright lights, loud noises, strong smells, or even certain textures can feel intensely irritating and overwhelming. This can lead to meltdowns, withdrawal, or a desperate need for quiet and calm. Coupled with this is brain fog, a feeling of mental cloudiness, difficulty thinking clearly, or a general sense of sluggishness in cognitive processes. It's like trying to navigate a dense fog, where clarity is elusive, and every mental task feels like pushing through treacle. These two symptoms combined can make navigating the world incredibly draining and contribute to feelings of exhaustion and frustration. Understanding these symptoms isn't about finding excuses. It's about finding explanation. It's about recognizing that a differently wired brain operates differently, and that these differences come with both challenges and unique strengths. Embracing this understanding is the first step toward building strategies, seeking support, and ultimately, living a life that truly aligns with your unique neurological makeup. For a deeper dive into practical strategies and a compassionate understanding of how ADHD truly affects your life, I highly recommend Your Brain's Not Broken by Dr. Tamara Rosier. It's an incredibly insightful book that helps you understand the emotional landscape, time perception, and motivational challenges unique to ADHD, offering practical ways to improve your symptoms. You can find a link to purchase it in the description below. If this deep dive into ADHD symptoms resonated with you, if you found yourself nodding along or understanding yourself a little better, please like this video to help more people find this information. And for more insights into the complexities of the human mind, subscribe to the channel.
Raised up. I'm so tired now. ADHD explained by ducks. Now I gotta watch that one.
ADHD isn't one thing. It's a full system of fast signals, stalled signals, and cross signals. Before you watch the patterns, understand the truth. This duck isn't broken. Different wiring, different workflow. What follows is the whole map. Different ducks flap at different speeds. Watch how this one moves through the world. ADHD. Ducks sit down to do task. Ducks say, okay, easy task. Duck open laptop. Tab already open. Amazing start. Duck say, but first, worm snack. Duck walk to kitchen. Duck enter kitchen. Duck forget why in kitchen. Duck stand still looking around. Brain say, question mark, maybe spoon? Duck go back to nest. See open laptop. Remember worm snack. Walk to kitchen again. Forget again. Duck see smudge on counter. Clean entire kitchen. Organize spoons. Rearrange worm drawer by lathe. Label it green. Duck sit down again. Duck open phone. Scroll pond app for 42 minutes. Duck see other ducks doing tasks. Duck say, I'm lazy. Duck say, I'm broken. Duck say, what is wrong with me? But actually, duck not lazy. Duck brain just runs side quests. Main quest hard to start. Duck not broken, just wired. Duck learning to say, I did what I could. I'll try again soon. I'm still a good duck. Duck writes one sentence. Duck say yes. Not every trait is trouble. Some are hidden engines. See what this duck does with them. ADHD superpowers. Duck mind fast, too fast for pond speed limits. Duck forgets where pea snack went, but invents 3 new recipes for it. Other ducks say focus. Duck already is. 10 things at once. Brain never off. Always scanning, connecting, creating. When problem hits the pond, duck doesn't panic. Duck improvises. Duck flaps sideways, backwards, upside down if needed. When other ducks get bored, duck gets ideas. When others stop, duck still flapping. Duck brain not broken. Just built for discovery, not repetition. ADHD isn't just distraction. It's directionless energy looking for purpose. Find the right interests, and that chaos becomes current. ADHD is a superpower if used correctly. Sometimes easy, sometimes hard, sometimes both. Always a good duck. When the world narrows, this duck locks on. Watch the tunnel form. ADHD hyperfocus. Duck finds one twig, says, oh, neat. Duck sits down to look closer. Brain goes zoom. Duck forgets ponds, worms, forgets sleep. Duck builds 40-page twig encyclopedia. With charts, with diagrams, with references no duck asked for. Sun rises, duck still flapping. Eyes bloodshot. Nest, messy. No pea snacks eaten. Other ducks say, wow, you're so productive. Duck says, I forgot to drink water for 12 hours. That's hyperfocus, not superpower, not laziness. Just brain locking on one twig and forgetting rest of pond. Wise Frog says, hyperfocus can be magic, but don't burn feathers. Set timers, drink water, stretch wings. Duck nods, hydrates, still staring at twig. Still a good duck. Sometimes interest becomes gravity. This is what it looks like when a duck can't look away. Hyperfixation. Duck finds new thing, knitting. Duck says just one video, then one more, then 8 hours pass. Duck forgets lunch, forgets pond meetup. Nest is full of yarn. Duck says, this is who I am now. Buys needles, makes spreadsheet, plans Etsy shop. Other ducks say, you're so productive. Duck says, I haven't peed in 9 hours. Duck brain says, only this. So duck flaps and flaps until suddenly, nothing. Duck looks at yarn. Brain goes quiet. Interest, just gone. Other ducks say, I thought you loved that. Duck says, I did. I really did. Wise frog says, that's hyperfixation. It hits fast, it burns bright, then disappears. Not fake, not lazy, just how some duck brains flap. Duck nods, takes a breath, picks up a book, starts again. Still curious, still intense, still a good duck.
Yippee!
Avoidance isn't laziness. It's pressure without direction. Procrastination. Duck has one task. Build nest. Easy task. Duck say, I'll start after 1 scroll. 1 scroll becomes 10. Duck deep in goose drama thread. 2 hours gone. Duck finally stand up. Pick up 1 twig. Brain say, wait, first clean feathers. Duck polish every feather, even the ones under wings. Duck sit back down. Brain say, actually hungry. Duck eat pea snack. Then another. Then suddenly reorganize entire pebble pile by color, size, and so on. Sun going down. Nest still just 1 twig. Duck panic. Flap around. Do everything except nest. Writes list called How to Build Nest. Doesn't build nest. Duck say, I work best under pressure. So waits until the night before storm. Builds full nest and manic feather rage. Eyes twitching. Pea snack crumbs everywhere. Nest done. Duck exhausted. Duck swear never again. Tomorrow, does it again. Wise frog says, procrastination isn't lazy. It's fear wearing a disguise. Start with 1 twig, not the whole nest. Duck sigh. Place 1 twig. Feels lighter. Still late, still distracted, still a good duck. Showing fine has a cost. Notice how this duck hides the strain. Masking burnout. Duck wakes up tired, puts on normal duck face, gets ready for pond party, smooth feathers, practices quack. Duck arrives at party, nods in the right places, laughs at the right times, hides when the honks are too loud, but only in the mind. Duck pretends not to like pea snack, pretends they like Goose's jokes, pretends music isn't too loud. Every day, the act gets heavier. Duck gets home, shuts nest door, flops down. No more pretending, just quiet. Next morning, duck tries to flap out of bed. Body says no. Brain says please. Nothing moves. Other ducks say, but you seemed fine yesterday. Duck smiles weakly, screams inside. Wise frog says, you can only fake flap so long before your wings give out. Drop the mask with safe ducks. Rest without guilt. Remember what real flapping feels like. Still resting, still unmasking, still a good duck. When feelings run hot too long, the body shuts down. Study the slow collapse. Emotional burnout. Duck not sad, not angry, not crying, just done. Duck used to care, used to try, used to flap extra hard. Now duck can't even lift 1 wing. Pond feels far, everything feels loud, even small things feel big. Replying to messages hard. Making breakfast is hard. Being duck is hard. Duck scrolls but doesn't read. Duck eats but doesn't taste. Duck sleeps but still tired. Duck say I'm fine. Duck is not fine. Duck is empty. Other birds say take a break. Ducks say this is the break, and it still doesn't help. Burnout is not laziness, not weakness. It's too much for too long with not enough rest and way too much pressure. Duck doesn't need to be fixed. Duck needs to stop surviving and start feeling safe again. Duck needs time and softness and less noise, and no one saying, but you used to do so much. Duck is still duck, just a very tired one. Not tired, drained. There's a difference. Watch how this duck moves when the tank is empty. Chronic fatigue. Duck wakes up, still tired, eyes open, but wings heavy. Ducks say maybe I just need more sleep. Sleeps more, still tired. Other ducks say go for a swim, try yoga. Duck tries everything, still exhausted. But this isn't sleepy. Tired in the bones, tired in the soul. Ducks say maybe I'm lazy, maybe I'm broken, but no. This is chronic. A body that burns fuel, but never refills. A mind that wants to flap, but can't lift off. Wise frog says, you're not lazy, you're running on empty with no refill station. Duck slows down, paces flaps, takes rest seriously, still tired, still showing up, still a good duck. Even joy can scorch. See how excitement turns to ash. Passion burnout. Duck finds hobby. Duck obsessed. Flaps all night. Builds nest maps. Organizes twigs by color and year. Duck says, this is my purpose. This is my joy. Then one day, ducks sit down. Brains say no. No flap, no spark, no joy. Duck panic. How can I be tired of what I love? Am I broken? Duck push harder. Flap until feathers fall out. Still empty. That's passion burnout. When joy turns into job and spark turns into ash. Wise Frog says passion needs balance. Pea snacks, naps, swims with friends. Duck isn't broken. Duck just needs rest. Duck nods, steps back, takes break. Tiny spark returns. Still creative, still resting, still a good duck. Some ducks drift rather than dash. Same current, different pattern. ADD. Duck sit down to do task. Duck say, easy task. Duck open laptop. Duck stare at screen. Duck forget what task was. Duck scrolls. Brain spins. Duck remembers worm bill. Goes to pay it. Duck go to kitchen. Forget why. Stand still. Brain loading. Duck open fridge. Closes fridge. Opens fridge again. Still nothing inside. Still nothing in brain. Duck come back. Open email. Now it's dark out. Nothing done. Other ducks say, you're so chill. You don't seem like you have ADHD. Duck smile. Duck scream inside. Duck isn't bouncing. Duck isn't loud. Duck is just tired from thinking in 12 tabs at once. Wise Frog says, some ADHD ducks bounce. Others float quietly. Both are flapping hard. Duck sighs. Moves one feather. Tries again. Still trying. Still distracted. Still a good duck. When two systems overlap, the rules shift again. Observe the hybrid. Odd HDD. Duck sees worm. Duck wants worm. Duck sprints toward worm. Halfway there, oh look, leaf. Wait, what was I doing? Brain spins, focus gone, energy everywhere and nowhere. Duck loves routine. Same rock, same log, same snack. But also, duck gets bored, wants new nest, new hat, new everything. Duck hears loud honk, brain shatters. Mud on flippers? Panic. Duck masks, nods when confused, rehearses how to say quack. Exhausted after one conversation. Duck wants to be social, but also hide and reads. Wants to speak up, wants connection, but fears the cost. Ducks say, why am I like this? Wise Frogs say, you are two ducks in one brain. One needs structure, the other needs chaos. They argue a lot. ADHD is not a flaw. It's fire and fog, speed and softness, exhausting and electric. Duck is learning, waddling forward, still a good duck. Always a good duck. Nothing here is weakness, just wiring. Learn the pattern, use the pattern. And remember, duck is still a good duck.
That was hilarious. To bring battle. ADHD. Here she is. I love her.
Picture this, it's a two-brain battle and I'm about to break it down. You know I crave stimulation, max volume, but get weird over tiny sounds. I am calm during chaos, minor setbacks really freak me out. I'm extremely tidy till it all just piles up in mounds. Productive at last minute, yeah, but it's kind of a flex. I'll master any skill unless it's boring or complex. Hours of straight focus till I feel burnout effects. New hobbies, did I tell you about the latest house project? I lose my keys but bring up minor details from the past. I need a lot of sleep but still I move from task to task. Yeah, my two brains are different, it's a major contrast. But that's okay, I say it's just a neurospicy blast. Blast because it's a battle, not fun. Always. Not always. Sometimes. Anyways.
Yep. All right. It's bedtime. Good night. Peace out, y'all.